right, let's check out code.org's Flappy Code Hour of Code today. So we go to View More under Hour of Code. And here it is, Flappy Code. Now this is where we start to do code that's going to be looking a lot like a simplified version of what we're going to do when we're actually making our own video games with code, starting in a couple weeks here. So I, of course, suggest you watch this video, just like always. Now let's read the instructions. First level, attach a block to the when click block, then press run. Okay, click or tap the screen to move Flappy to the target. So if we click, it'll play a wing sound now. And it does. But the wing sound, of course, is not good enough, right? We probably need flap so that he'll actually flap. Oh, I see. And you got to flap him fast enough to get to the target at the top. All right, moving on. That's level 1. Super simple, as usual. When click flap. So now we've added some ground. Attach a block to when hit the ground. Your code needs to end the game when Flappy crashes into the ground. So end game. You know what? I liked that wing sound, so I'm going to put that here. I wonder what other sounds they have. Random? There we go. Game over. The when run block allows you to run code when your game starts. So this is almost like a setup area. Okay. We've been using when run in all the other code.org hours of code so far. But this one, you use when run just for your setup. So try setting the level speed and flapping to the target. Okay. So set speed normal. So see, as I said, this is a kind of a setup block that lays down some of the settings for the level. Cool, super simple. So one thing I want to point out about this, and let's move these off to the side for now. We have an orange when run block, and then these green blocks are what we would call encoding event handler blocks. Event handler blocks. And see what it says when I hover over it? Execute the actions below when a click event occurs, or really any kind of event. So event handlers are, they're part of your code that tells the program what to do when a certain event happens, when it sees something happen, like when it sees us click. When it detects that we have clicked the mouse button, it should flap. That's what we're telling it. When we hit the run button, when it detects we hit the run button, it should set our speed. And then when we hit an obstacle, it should end the game, because that's a game over. Let's run. And we're now at the point where we're actually getting pretty close to having a complete game at this point. So, just like always, I want to play sounds when I click. Well, that's fun. Okay. So, to be honest, the Flappy Code stuff and really the dance party is a lot like this. Once you get used to the fact that these blocks, and look, they don't have a notch on the top of them. You see how these ones all have a notch on the top of them? That's because they're assuming that you'll start by attaching these to either the orange when run or some of the other green event handler blocks, okay? And that's why these green and orange blocks don't have notches, because you can't attach anything above these. These are where your code has to start, okay? These are the start of a piece of code, the event handlers, so that's why they don't have any kind of notches. So you attach things to them. When you pass an obstacle, okay, let's add a scoreboard and count points. So obviously you're going to want to use score a point here. And which one should you attach that to? Well, read the instructions and they'll tell you. And that'll be level 5. Level 6, see if you can still score a point after making Flappy flap either a smaller or larger amount, okay? See if you can still score a point, flap a normal amount. Oh, I see. So they're saying you can change Flappy's behavior by making him bounce quite a bit or bounce a tiny amount like this. Anyways, random might kind of be fun, so that every time you click, it's totally different. It might be really hard to control. It worked. Moving on. Next, try changing the scene by attaching another block to the when run block. So, guys, notice these levels especially, you really have no idea what they want you to do unless you actually read the instructions. And as soon as you do read the instructions, it suddenly gets really easy. So they're saying change the scene. So let's see, set scene, okay, by attaching another block to the when run block. Okay. So every time we run it, we could do a random scene. So the scene could be totally random. And what the scene is, it's the background picture. So every time I hit run, it chooses a different scene. That should be it. And then I'm guessing they make you play the game a little bit. All right. This another thing. Okay. I'm gonna, let me just read the instructions out loud to you. But by the way, if you're not the strongest reader in the world, there is a read this to me out loud button right here. And you can actually have code.org read things to you out loud like this. So set a random scene. So it's this same block from last time when other events happen. So they're saying, you know, these are all different events. When you click, when you hit the ground, when you hit an obstacle, when you pass an obstacle, you can attach any of this stuff to any of those events. And then this stuff will happen whenever those events happen. So you could set the scene to be something different every time you click the mouse. You could set the player to a random thing every time you click the mouse. You could change the speed to something random every time you click the mouse. You could flap a random amount every time you click the mouse. Let's see. Cool. All right, there's 2 more levels. I'm guessing it's kind of the same thing. Now to mix things up, when you hit an obstacle, instead of ending the level, let's try setting the score to 0. Okay, so I'm guessing there's something in here. Yep, set score to 0. So that's not hard to do either. You just attach it to the right green block and it'll work. And then level 10, they want you to create kind of your own game from scratch and really make it your own, you know? Have your own sound effects, have your own character and your own background and your own obstacles. And there's a bunch of different obstacles you can choose, etc., and really kind of mix it up and make your own game out of Flappy Bird, okay? And you can, when you're done with this, it'll give you a link and you can send, it'll give you a link that you can send to your friends and family and they can try it on their phones. So that's pretty cool. So check that out and send me a link to yours if you make something cool. All right.